Hello and welcome to another bonus podcast. My name is Kristal. I'm the pastor of women here at Northview Community Church, and I'm joined by Thaleia.
Hello.
My podcast partner. And two guests today. We're going to introduce them. So one is Naomi. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
And second is Angi.
Hello.
We brought them here to talk about the topic of international adoption. So we're going to have them share a little bit about their journeys. A few weeks ago, we had a podcast with Imran and Patty on local adoption, and we thought we'd round out the picture by having some people who have adopted internationally with us. So why don't we start with you, Naomi? Do you want to introduce yourself to the people who are listening? Maybe a bit about your family, your church, your jobs.
Sure,
those kind of things.
You have to mention me first, though.
Oh, I've got my sister, Thaleia, here. It's so exciting. I love her so much, and I get to be sitting with her, so that's awesome.
I know. Naomi is 5 years younger than me, so I'm the older sister.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Was she bossy?
Probably.
Thaleia read a lot.
I read a lot. She remembers me kind of being in my book.
Yeah, my name is Naomi Peters. I live in North Van with my husband, Mark. We've always been married for 19 years. I've got two kids. Luke is 14 and high school, grade 9. Anna is 10. She will remind me to tell you almost 11.
Yes.
Grade 6.
She's almost 11.
Yeah, yeah. What else about me? I love to run. I love to bike. Love being outside. I love cheering my kids on in soccer, and I also work part-time as a nurse.
And you love to do what at church?
Oh, I love leading worship with the kids. I love being involved in the kids ministry. I love being a taxi driver on Wednesdays and rounding up all of Luke's friends to bring the youth. I wish I had a school bus.
That's true.
That's a good problem to have, needing more space. Yeah. Okay, Angi, give us a bit of insight into you.
Yeah, I am married to Clayton. We have 5 children, so our oldest is 15. We have 3 13-year-olds, and then we have a 3-year-old that we brought home from Haiti last November, almost a year now. So it is a loud, active,
So you have to describe that a little bit, because people will think 3 13-year-olds, that's triplets, but
Yes.
it is an age, but not quite. So tell us a little bit.
Right. So our 15-year-old daughter is a biological daughter. And then we had Emily, 13-year-old biological daughter. And then we brought home Benita from Haiti 2 years later when she was 2 years old. And then Kimberline, our next 13-year-old, came home when she was just about 5. So I kind of did triplets, I think, the easy way. I did not have to go
5
through
years.
Exactly.
Get used to one at a time.
Yeah. So 4 teenage girls at home right now. It's a blast, to be honest. And then add a 3-year-old, our first boy, and a toddler to the mix.
Nice.
And 2 dogs.
Honestly, I can't talk about the dogs right now.
So you have to tell us what your passion at church. How long have you been at Northview? And
Yeah,
what do you do
so
here?
we moved to Abbotsford in 2010. We've been at Northview since then. I love to teach the Bible to women. And so we have a Monday night precept Bible study, which I've been doing for the last number of years at Northview. And that is for sure, along with adoption, one of my passions and my heart's one of the things I love to do most.
That's neat.
Naomi, which church are you part of?
Yeah, I attend North Shore Alliance Church. I love the church, but I also attend because my husband is a pastor there.
So it's pastor. So you're lead pastor's wife.
It's really cool to be involved, and we just have such a great staff and great elders board, and get to be involved in so many things because people know me and trust me. Summer camps, youth group, praying for people.
Yeah. And we're both married to Marks. So if you hear us say my Mark, her Mark, your Mark, that's how we do it.
Keeps them straight. Keep all those
they
marks
need
straight.
a physical description for a minute, because they can hear your voices, which sound similar.
Do they?
Yeah, but they're both very blonde and beautiful, but you look quite different than I thought you would.
Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's our voices, I think, that are the most similar.
Yeah.
When her son Luke was a baby, he easily went to me, and we thought it was because of his our voices.
Yeah.
He didn't have any trouble making that transition.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Okay, so we want to talk about, how did you start talking about adoption as a couple? Why don't we start with you, Angi?
How and why, maybe.
How and why?
Yeah, sure.
Why adoption?
So Clayton and I met and started dating in 1996, and he had just come home from a missions trip to Haiti. with Trinity Western. And so our very first date was spent talking about that. And he said on our very first date that one day he would want to adopt. So
Okay.
I would say in me I was not against the idea, but it is not something that I had kind of dreamt of always doing, but it was certainly something that God put in his heart.
Okay.
So when we got married, I went into that knowing that one day that would be part of our family plan. Yeah.
That's neat. So, but you started dating, and then how much time passed before you sort of started pursuing this?
Right. So married in 98. We had Molly in 2002, and really we had put the idea of adoption on the back burner kind of until there are some reasons we were just going on with life, and we'd kind of forgotten our heart for the orphan and for adoption. And so decided to go naturally into having a family biologically. And it wasn't until we'd experienced about 3 miscarriages while trying to get pregnant, finally pregnant with Emily. But in that time, God really used that to speak to us, especially at a camp in the summer we were at. And the speaker was speaking on obedience to God. And so certainly biblical commands that we all need to flush out and work through obedience in that. But definitely Clayton and I had really sensed that there was a call on our lives to adopt. But we had ignored it and rejected it until then. And the speaker in a morning chapel session said, delayed obedience to God is immediate disobedience to God. And so we just looked at each other in that moment, and we had a 1-year-old. We were in medical school residency. It didn't seem like the right time, and yet we knew that the call was to get going on it now. And so we started the process when Molly was a year old, after a few miscarriages, and then I was pregnant with Emily that fall. Needed to put everything on hold,
Right.
but got started back on the process as soon as she was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's neat. Okay, Naomi, how did you start talking about this as a couple?
So Mark and I were married in 1999, and Luke was born in 2003. We had no difficulty at that time getting pregnant, and so he was a blessing. We wanted more children. My idea was to have another child 2 years later, and we realized that was not working out. So we were seeking specialists, and definitely had issues with infertility, and went through some infertility treatments that weren't working. And we just took us years or I guess my heart years to be open to the God's plan for us, which was adoption. And
Because you definitely wanted more children.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And we just think it was such a gift for God in our brokenness, for him to finally 2 years later and to give us just open to adoption. And
Did that take a while for the two of you to be on the same page?
we actually, we didn't really talk about it. I was grieving so terribly. I went kind of into a little bit of a depression. And so Mark was trying to be really sensitive to me. And then finally, just through tears, one day just said, well, we're never going to have more children because you don't want to adopt. And he looked at me and he says, I do. I just didn't have the heart to tell you because you were grieving so hard. And it was almost just in that moment that God replaced our absolute grief and broken hearts with joy and peace. And we pursued it right away.
Yeah.
We went through the stages and paperwork of starting adoption.
I think that's really important for our listeners because we have a lot of women we know, not only in this church, but in our communities that are grieving deeply. They want children. And their original thought is biological children. God has put that on our, that's a good desire.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't always work that way.
God has good plans for our family.
Okay, so you each adopted from different countries. So why Haiti, Angi?
Yeah, so Haiti for us was a natural choice because Clayton had been there. And that's where he first experienced visiting the orphan.
Okay.
And that's where his heart was turned towards them. And so we also met the only other family we knew that had pursued an international adoption had gone through Haiti.
Okay.
So we used them as a great resource. And it was a bit of a no-brainer for us at the time.
That was kind of your main heart option. And Naomi, you have Anna from Thailand.
Yeah,
Why
Anna.
Thailand?
We've always, Mark and I, always, and we'll always have a heart for the world. We look forward to seeing how God can use us one day in missions around the world. But our good friends, really good friends, adopted through Thailand, had a great experience. And we thought we want to be in a country where we're happy to go back and just want to love the country and pray for the country.
Yeah.
And so we've had a joy to go back a couple times. We love Thailand.
Yeah, in 2013, we had the privilege as an extended family. So my family and our 2 kids, Naomi's family, and my parents, so all 10 of us went to Thailand to meet Anna's birth mom, her foster mom, to see the orphanage where she was, to just experience the country. It was an incredible gift.
Amazing.
I love the way that God uses such ordinary means to kind of guide us, like a friend that you knew, like Clayton's missions trip.
Yeah.
Like he just puts things on our hearts because of where we've been and where we've journeyed, and then he just develops that in us. So everyone's going to have a different path as to how he's going to lead you, but I just love that he does it so ordinarily. Yeah,
that's true.
Just through our friends.
It's true.
Right.
Experiences, yeah. So what was the process like when you started it? Was it overwhelming? What kind of paperwork did you have to do? Did you have to get approved to be parents? What was the process? Do you want to start, Naomi?
It's a long process. You start through, obviously, an adoption agency, and you take a course, 3-day course, which is really great, really informative, makes you think a lot. Lots of teaching and education associated with that. And then you begin the paperwork. For us, the paperwork took probably about 14 months, home study, social work appointments. I did a lot of work. I couldn't believe how much work it was, but, and the waiting was hard. And then once we got approved and got a proposal, we waited another year, but then you're just waiting for the paperwork from the other end from Thailand. They're very
was
organized.
it a year
It's
to get a match or just a year?
So when we started in 2006, actually, Anna was basically born a month later, November 2006. And it was a year of paperwork and then a year of waiting.
2 years total.
So in Thailand is different. They allow the birth mom full rights up until 12 months.
Okay.
And they don't actually start the paperwork until 12 months.
Okay.
So, yeah. Anna was in a loving Christian foster home in Chiang Mai, and we knew she was in amazing hands. She was in the same foster home as our good friends had their 2 daughters where they adopted her from. So shout out to Anna's foster mom, who we love so much, and who's a part of our family. She allowed me to use her name, Jane Arnott, in Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
She took the best care of our daughter, as she has about 40 other children.
Wow.
That she lives and breathes and loves the people and the children in Thailand.
An Australian woman who's given her life as a single woman to raise foster kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, you have a different process, Angie.
Yeah, we, so all 3 of our children are from Haiti. Our first 2 international adoptions we completed in Alberta, so it looks really different even from BC. So province to province, it's different.
Yeah.
And each agency is a little different to work with too. So you kind of Google International Adoption BC, and it gives you a list of agencies that you can work with. So you are in touch with the agency. I remember a friend, we've walked through the Haiti adoption process with quite a few people. And I remember one friend just said a piece of paper a day. Like that was her goal, to finish one piece of paper a day, and it all gets done. It seems so overwhelming initially. I think you go to this course. I think they try, at least in Alberta, to weed some people out, maybe that may not understand what this is going to look like. Because you were looking at anywhere from 2 to 5 or 6 years, I think, with China right now.
Okay.
So it's kind of a wake-up call, that 3-day seminar, but also very exciting.
Okay.
And then kind of the social work visits start, which can be really scary because none of our homes are perfect, and our kids aren't, and we aren't.
Angie, you're not perfect.
I know, I'm not. And so you tell them everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everything.
So you're trusting a stranger to make a decision about your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is a very unnerving process.
Okay.
But so good too. You're reaffirmed so many times, I think, with each piece of paper you fill out that, no, we're doing this. And there is an end in sight.
It's good to know from the kind of an outsider point of view, just the care that goes into people being placed in homes. I like to think that, a lot of research is being done to make sure these people are good people.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to provide a stable place. So
Yeah. Now, Angie, I know you went to Haiti a number of times. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Why and how that worked?
Sure. So when we adopted Benita and Kimberline, process was very different. So you sent all your paperwork. about a year and a half later, you got a proposal, about a year later. And then you waited a year and a half to go pick up your child.
That is a long time.
It is. And you never meet them in that time. So the first time I met Benita was picking her up at 2 years old. So it is, in my mind, I thought, no, that's best for them. Like, they don't have to then have a mom come and go. And at that time, our orphanage had a policy that you could not come and visit.
Okay.
And I think they did it for the benefit of the child, believing that would be the best. Haiti had a new policy come in after the earthquake. And that was that you had to do a 2-week socialization with your proposed child. And a Haitian social worker and psychologist would evaluate you in that time.
Whoa, so you're on the limb there for 2 weeks.
You are,
You're giving your heart to this kid.
And your final day is a few-hour interview with a social worker and psychologist, and they make the call then. Whether
So you don't know.
You don't. You're spending 2 weeks pouring your heart out and spending 8 hours a day with who you believe your child to be, and it's not a certain thing.
Was this the process with Kimberly?
No,
That was with
Kimberly was the same as Benita's.
Okay.
Yep, yeah.
But that was your youngest.
Yeah.
Youngest. Okay.
So when we went and spent 2 weeks with him, we went as a family, January or December 2000. I have no idea anymore. 15.
Last.
Yeah, we brought him home a year ago. And after spending 2 weeks with him and leaving him, I just could not imagine him not seeing his mom and dad anymore for the next however long it would take. It was a big black hole at that time. We didn't know if this would take a year or 2 years or 3 years till he came home. And so Clayton and I kind of spelled each other off, went once together. I went once with another friend who's in the process of adopting, but kind of every 2 months we went to visit him. And it was so good.
So that he knew you better
knew
by
who
the
we were,
time.
and my prayer the whole time was, God, guard his heart. You know, that this is not what he knows of a mom that comes and goes and comes and goes.
Yeah.
And I really believe he did. So it was so good. We knew our little guy when he came home, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
Did you get to visit beforehand?
No, you don't get to visit in Thailand. But when we went, Anna was almost 2, and we spent a week in Chiang Mai with her foster mom and slowly just visited every day. At the end of the week, we said goodbye, which was so hard to her foster mom, who she just was so attached to, which is a good thing. And then we spent the next 3 weeks in Thailand. We went down south and enjoyed the beach and the pool. And it was just a really great time of bonding before we came back home.
Yeah, into real life.
So good.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what were the challenges to bring your kids home. Naomi, since you already started, why don't you continue with what was it like to bring this 2-year-old
Yeah.
home?
So Anna was 2 and just loved her life. And why wouldn't she? She was surrounded by people who loved her in Thailand. And it was really hard for her. She didn't understand English very well. She knew a couple words. And I think nights were the hardest for her. She did sleep in a room with another child and her foster mom. So she just loves being around people. And so that transition was difficult for her. You know, that took many, many months for her to feel, for us to support her at night. And she was great during the day. And just slowly, day by day, month by month, she got more comfortable at home. She loved her brother. Got to put shout out for Luke. She just adored Luke right from the get-go, and slowly warmed up to me. And it took longer for Mark, but she realized how awesome of a dad she had when one day I said I wouldn't let her go in the pool unless she went and jumped into her dad's arms.
Oh, okay.
And because he so desperately wanted just to show her how much he loved loved her. And from then on in, she realized her dad is the fun guy to be in the pool with.
I think one of the initial challenges too for extended family, or at least it was for me and my family, is that I wasn't sure if I could love an adopted niece as much as I loved my nephew.
Yeah.
And I wrestled with that, but never said that to Naomi and Mark, because of course that's an appalling thing to say. But when they brought her, we went to the airport to meet them. And when Anna walked through the doors holding the hands of her family, my heart just exploded. it was like God's love overwhelmed us. And we realized, well, that was the dumbest thing I ever thought in my life. God just gives us more love for the people in our families.
Your hearts just grow.
He doesn't shrink it, he expands it. And so that just disappeared immediately. But that was a good kind of a wrestling time for me.
Yeah, it's a huge fear for, I think, parents going into adoption
general,
as well.
yeah.
Will I love this child the same?
Yeah.
And that holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
And it's a real fear.
Yeah.
But seeing what God can do is miraculous.
Yeah, and they're not the same kids, but it is an expanded love that shifts and changes for each child in their unique situation. They're just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Angie, tell us about your initial challenges.
So very different with all three of them. I think Benita came home at 2. She was nonverbal at that time and quite traumatized. I sometimes... We have to imagine this child who all 3 of my kids were well taken care of, well nourished at the orphanage that they were at, but they only knew those people.
Yeah.
They had never stepped outside of the orphanage before,
Okay.
had only eaten that food, had only heard that language. And all of a sudden, you have this 2-year-old that this white person is taking her onto an airplane back to cold, freezing Alberta. And it is traumatic for them. And so what we saw with Beanie was that she just really was quiet and timid and shy. But it really didn't take long, I think, for her to start to feel part of the family. And it was instant for us. With Kimberly, she was very verbal at 5 years old. But she experienced a ton of grief and loss. So she came to know her nannies and love them so much.
Yeah, as a 5-year-old.
Yes.
You have good relationships.
So when she came home, it was about a month of her crying to sleep every night and calling out for her nannies by name.
I know.
So it was that you could see her in physical pain. And we didn't have the language necessarily to help her out with it, but I just remember holding her and crying with her every night. Sorry. Caleb knew us, and that was so different bringing him home. He knew his sisters, he knew Clayton and I, and he just came home feeling so comfortable, so at ease, but then also really shut down, exhausted in the first week.
Oh, interesting.
So slept a ton and, just adjusting to his new. But I would say the hardest thing is watching them grieve.
Yeah.
They have left the only thing they know as life.
Yeah.
And down the road, this is the best thing for them.
Yeah, but in the middle of it.
In the middle of it, I remember bringing Benita onto the plane and thinking, Lord, are we doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Because it's a painful road for them.
Really painful.
Yeah.
For their whole life, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a brokenness
Yeah, it is.
that God can redeem and make whole,
Absolutely.
but it sure takes time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any specific challenges related to adoption that you would face now? Like if you think of initially there were those challenges, how would any adopted kids be different than what you're challenging with your regular kids, your biological kids?
And what we have here is we have the 2 of you who've walked this adoption road with your kids for quite a few years already. When we talked with Patty and Imran, they were really new-ish in this process, but you guys have been down this road for a while. So what are your current adoption challenges?
Yeah, well, I'll speak on behalf of our family. Anna, we've had her for 10 years now.
Yeah.
So we've had lots of time to grow and understand her a bit more, and just our love for her grows every day. She is just brings so much joy to our home. I think she'll still always have questions, and so she should, about her birth family.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart to not have the answers. And we are trying to give her as much as we can. We did go back in 2013 and meet her birth mom and spend a few days with her. It was beautiful and hard all at the same time.
Yeah.
And we've tried our hardest to continue sending photos and updates through her foster mom who translates. She's going to have questions that I can't answer, and my heart breaks for her in that. I think in this stage of life, just having teenagers, I have a responsibility, I feel, to be as healthy emotionally, spiritually, and physically as much as possible, to always try to respond in love, in patience, in kindness. So,
And I know you do that 100% of the time.
No, I don't.
We don't know. None of us, biological or adopted parents, we don't.
Oh.
Good thing we have God.
Yeah.
and sisters.
And sister. Yeah.
Would you add anything, Angie?
No, I think the biggest things, if I think walking out international adoption, and it's been for us about 11 years now too, it is they are facing their loss every day. And often not necessarily speaking about it, but they, all three of them in general, have lost both their parents. And that is not something I can relate to, nor I can give expertise into, but just helping them talk about it, acknowledging it with them, that it is a huge loss. And, you know, there are things that happen in the world or within our church or whatever that trigger that for them again.
Yeah.
So
It's just, I think, a long path, but
Yeah.
nice for your girls too that they could go back and see. Like when you went back to meet Caleb, when they all came back with you, you said that was really impactful
It
for
was.
them.
So Benita and Kimberly got to come back when we first met Caleb, and it was their first time back. And it was the exact same orphanage, the exact same rooms, and all the nannies too that got to meet them, and they remembered them. And I think that was a real gift. I'm so grateful that we got to do that. Oh, so good.
What would you say
Healing.
you've learned about God through this whole process?
Oh, that is huge. I have learned so much about God and myself. I in the first, while we were waiting, not knowing really anything, I was just fearful. I'm prone to fear and prone to worry, and the Lord has been so kind to me in giving me just His loving presence and giving me some verses that really met me in my time of waiting. Isaiah 43 says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I'll be with you." And then down further, I was really encouraged. "Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I'll bring your children from the east and gather you from the west. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth, everyone who is called by my name, who I created for my glory, who I formed and made." Just God just reminding me over and over again, even now, trust me. Trust me.
Yeah.
I love you and I love your kids so much. And I'm just walking. Yeah, I love the song every day. I need you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just His love, right? God's love for us. And I think we all had that verse. 1 John 3, verse 1. "How great is the love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are."
Yeah, that He adopted us into His family. Yeah.
I think a few things. Number one, with every walking out of each adoption we've done, I cannot believe His provision and His trustworthiness and His faithfulness. And so I'm a really different person from walking that road with Benita than when we walked it with Caleb. And I'm so grateful that He's so faithful. So He has increased our trust. Going through the fears of, hey, can we love these kids like they need to be loved? I could not believe when Benita came home, she was our first, the reality of the gospel playing out before our eyes. And that is the only way Clayton could describe it. As needy as she was and as alone as she was, and we were called to meet her and rescue her and bring her out. And we just saw that as such a picture of us in her place.
Yep.
We loved her so much, and that just gave us a picture of He will not let us go. Like, we are committed to these kids for life. They're ours. They are Tufnells before they're our adopted kids or biological kids. They're Tufnells before anything else. And this whole idea of identity was just hammered home for us, and our identity in Him. And as children, that He will never give up on us.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is He will not let us go when he's calling us to something. So I think so many times I hear, or I'm working out with people, but I don't know what he's calling me to, or I don't know if he's called us to adoption. He will not let it go if he has. And so I think we walk his ways every day, relying on him, and he is going to open doors to where we need to go. And I remember we had 4 girls. Life was good. We were finally settled in Abbotsford, and I remember going on holidays with our family, and we had listened to this audiobook about this Kisses from Katie, the Katie in Uganda adopting 19 girls, and we were driving to Disneyland as we were listening to it. And I remember not looking at Clayton that whole time, because I'm like, I honestly thought to God, don't you dare call us down this road again. We're so good right now. To open a can again of knowing what's a 3 to 5 year process. Yeah. And I just remember coming home that night, and Clayton was like, you know what is going on here? I'm like, I actually don't want to talk about it. It took probably 3 days of me being so irritable and so angry and so resistant to the fact. And finally, he just said, go be with the Lord and get yourself sorted out. And I remember just going to God and pleading, saying, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Yeah. It's not that adoption was so hard, or that I don't know what it was in me that was so resistant. Probably knowing what it would cost again, because it's a huge cost.
Yeah, emotional investment.
Emotionally and all of that. And I remember when I just laid it out before him, I remember just peace flooding when I finally relented and submitted and said, you know what, I'm willing to do whatever. And then he just changed it to absolute joy and excitement about what this would look like. Right. So he doesn't let us go. Ever. We're his kids forever.
Yeah.
And we don't do anything to deserve it either, right? There's nothing any of those kids did to deserve your love, and yet it's the same with us.
Yeah, his sovereign hand. No doubt in my mind, he's put our family together exactly as he planned from long ago. And it just gives me such assurance and hope and faith in he is over it all.
That's neat.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say to families that are considering adoption? I mean, you've said lots of things, I'm sure, but is there anything else you would add to families?
My first reaction to that question was just do it. If you're considering, obviously go get the information you need, pray about it and sort it, talk with other families that have done it, name your fears, write them out, and then actually have people speak into that, I think. But take the first step. And trust him in it. If you are considering, and it is fear that's holding you back of the unknown.
Don't let fear hold you back. No. I agree. The Lord is so faithful. He's going to take you by the hand. He's going to shepherd you as you walk this journey. He loves you, and he loves these kids so much.
Oh, why don't we, on that note, just close in prayer?
Yeah.
Angie, do you mind doing that?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. You are a good father to us. And I thank you so much for how you care for us, how you save us, how you put burdens on our heart, all different burdens for every member of your body that will help us reach the world and live for you and minister to others. And so, Father, I thank you for the opportunity to be involved in your kingdom in this way. I just pray that through this podcast, even, that you would place it on people's hearts how they can reach out to the orphan. It's not going to look the same for everyone. And I pray that you would give freedom in how people want to care and minister. I pray that you would not place any burden of just an expectation that it needs to look a certain way. But Lord, that you would help us to care for the orphan and the widow in their need. You have so many ways for us to do that, and I just pray that we would respond in obedience in the ways that you've set before us. I thank you so much for this time, for an ability to share the work that you've done. And I pray that you would just bless the ears of our listeners, and thank you for this opportunity to share your story. Amen.
Amen. Thanks for joining us.